I'm with all that. Let's get it. Better than your favorite rapper. I can say it backwards. I'm these rappers' favorite. Yo, better. I'm who they coming after. Why you replay that back to understand? Let me make them matter. Coming at whoever so I can eliminate the chatter. Tell Eminem I don't care who's defending him. I don't make religious balance, but I will finish him. I saw you kneeling in the Super Bowl. Look feminine.
What up, y'all? I'm doing pop-up shows. This is how I'm doing things going forward because I'm going to be putting my focus on somewhere in the middle. So if you want to catch me live, you're going to have to catch me during a pop-up show. And usually my pop-up shows will be something entertaining, something from Discord, something on a trending topic. And today I'm excited. Well, tonight for you guys, this morning for me, because I have a guest from Discord, and I do Discord Chronicle Lives often because I think it's interesting that social media offers a wide variety of different perspectives on the net. And what's interesting is, oops, let me cut this off. What's interesting is there are liberals in Discord that will have constructive conversations with you. I was pretty blown away. And shout out to Tyler and all these people in Discord for facilitating these conversations, because I don't think they would be going on if we just remained on social media apps that control our algorithms and put specific people in front of us and just create echo chambers. So I'm going to bring my guest on. First, I had to share the live. I'm going to bring my guest on. I'm going to let him introduce himself because I don't like introducing my guests. So without further ado, welcome. Thanks for attending the live, man. I appreciate it.
Hi there. Thanks for having me on. I'm the tall nerd on TikTok, also known as SixOneDude, and Mark Jacobs.
Nice. So this is 6-1, right? Me and 6-1 have wars on Discord.
Yes.
Like real wars. So much so that I think I baffled him so bad on one topic that he just had to resort to calling me dumb. Do you remember that?
I actually don't, but it may have happened.
I'm like, bro, I need a different response besides I'm dumb. And you even conceded. You were like, you know what? You're right. I can't just be saying people are dumb without offering a reason why.
That is fair, yeah.
I figured, hey, let's bring this on Discord and have the same conversations we have in Discord, but a lot more tame because it says YouTube. And the last conversation we had, we were discussing Kanye West and the Jews. I'm going to say the Jews on here because I'm not afraid to say who they is, unlike Tim Pool. And that is also an interview we will be discussing. But everyone knows my sentiments on this. I would rather you give yours first to the audience so they know exactly where you're coming from.
Sure. So my experience on this is informed by my North African heritage. Because my dad is from there, I was instructed at a very young age, not to talk a certain way about that place, Israel. Not that they called it that place. I'm calling it that place right now. Mm-hmm. And there is a certain sensitivity I've always had just growing up, looking around at the media landscape. I wanted to work in media at one point, and I did see that there were many critics of Israel who were labeled as anti-Semitic, so that you couldn't even directly criticize the race. You had to be careful about criticizing a country. And there's recent examples of that.
Okay, so do you agree or disagree with how Kanye is handling this?
I think Kanye is, given what he said and the word he chose, I think he might be being a little bit too defensive about it. I was talking about it with one of your friends on Discord, and he was saying that, the race is incidental, right? And I was telling him that if the race is in fact incidental, maybe don't mention it right away, right? Like that's kind of the red herring. Even if Kanye didn't mean it that way, that's what had everyone thinking that that's how he meant it, because he did choose that word.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, if you're going to make a point like that, I think you could just be more careful. Is my position on it.
Okay. So you're saying be more careful.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my question. Are you careful when you talk? Do you talk about black crime? We're just going to use the obvious. Do you ever talk about black crime?
I am usually the last to bring it up, but it does come up in conversation. And
Okay.
the word I use to describe it is socioeconomic. You have to look at the race together with the economic factors.
Okay. So the reason I ask that is because we use words like white people, we use words like black people, and there
Hmm.
never seems to be any sensitivity behind saying, hey, white people have done this, black people do this. Generally, there's no sensitivity. Now, there are pockets of people that will be like, oh, you said black people. But most people understand, hey, I'm not talking about every single black person, so there's really no reason for me to preface and then go down the line and specify who exactly I'm talking about, because I'm talking about a group of people. And I liken that analogy to what Kanye did and said, where he simply said, the Jews. It's no different than saying the black community, the white community, the Latino community. And there is no backlash behind saying that. So when you say, well, he should choose his words carefully and not say Jews, what else is he supposed to say when it's a group of people that are indeed Jew?
I, I mean, so it depends on what context you bring up the race in. So typically, when you hear people talking about Black people, Latinos as a group, they might be talking about marketing preferences. Um, Very rare instances, they might be talking about crime and immigration. What this guy was doing was talking about their bad behavior in the position of being an executive or manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it does overlap with a negative stereotype of the race. So I think that's what Kanye stepped in. He might have legitimate gripes and he should air those. But when you blame it on the ethnicity, I think that's where people have trouble listening to what he has to say.
Hmm. See, that I don't agree with. And I don't agree
You
with
don't
that.
think he blamed it on the ethnicity?
I think he blamed it on a few people who were Jew. Like,
Uh-huh.
if I got beat up by a group of black people, I'm going to say, yes, I got beat up by black people. Like, I don't
Hmm.
have to specify which black person did it because it was a group and it doesn't encompass all. So that's another reason I'm just baffled by why there's sensitivity behind it. And people will bring up, well, this is what Hitler did, but Kanye's not Hitler. And Kanye's, like you said, his gripes could very much be real. I'm here to tell you they are
Yeah.
real. They do exist.
Hmm.
And this element exists not only in politics, not only in entertainment, I'm sorry, but it exists in politics as well, where you're somewhat controlled on what you can and can't say. And if you speak out on it, then it becomes a problem. And you're public enemy number one.
Yeah, I mean, I just when you're trying to make negative accusations about people, I guess that's what I meant by be careful. Is like if you do bring up race at all, it needs to be the last thing you bring up. If you bring it up at all, I mean, I've been criticized at one point for mentioning that someone was black when I mentioned some bad behavior, and they're like, "Oh, why does the race matter? You shouldn't say that."
Mm-hmm.
And when I thought about it later, I was like, you know what? They're right. I don't have to always say the race of someone when something bad happens to me, because everyone there's shitty people from all races, and like we unless that's the thing. Like, unless you're trying to make a racial point, why mention the race at all? And I think that's why it came across that way. And Kanye doesn't travel in circles that would like give him that sort of sensitivity training. But I kind of got it informally on the internet.
Hey guys, is my audio better? I don't
It,
know.
it is cutting out less. Yeah, I was wondering if it was my own.
Is it better? You said it's cutting
Yeah,
out less? Okay.
it is smooth now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I think people are just extremely sensitive on these things. Like,
Yes.
we have already lived in a society where everyone is classified, everyone is labeled, right? Even though we tend to say, "Oh, I'm against labels," and why do we have to attach labels to everything? That's how we are as humans. We've been conditioned to be that way.
Hmm.
So I don't find, even if you did say, "Hey, look at what's happened in the black community, man. Like, there's a lot of crime there. Why do we have a single parent home issue?" I would not be like 6'1", you're racist. I would wonder, okay, like, why do you think this? Where's this coming from? I want to sit down and talk to you and understand why, not just shut you up. Because that's essentially that's what it is. It's somebody shutting you up from talking about an actual issue for fear of being offended. Well, I'm more concerned with the actual issue than you being offended.
Yeah, that is open-minded of you, and that is part of why I spend time talking on Discord, because we can have conversations beyond the headlines, beyond the sense of outrage, and try to get to the meat of a subject. It's just if you're trying to be heard in a public forum and you have a position of authority, you have to be aware of the latest sensitivity training, and try to work around that. Because it just there is a crowd wisdom out there. I don't always agree with it. You know, you've probably heard me criticize some of the more excessive aspects of woke culture, but just
Mhm.
from my reading of history, like it is actually better to keep race out of it as much as possible when you are making public accusations like that.
Okay, so let's switch gears because we've
Hmm.
also had conversations centered around race when we
Hmm.
speak of white supremacy. So
Yep.
why don't we shy away from saying white supremacy and the white man in America is the most racist thing ever, or white supremacy is a national threat in America? Why don't we shy away from saying those things? Like, why don't we shy away from pinpointing an officer as white and the suspect is black? Like, it seems like we pick and choose when these things are important to know.
It is an interesting debate topic. Like sometimes we do mention race and sometimes we don't. And it is good to be aware of like, and more conscious about when we're making those kinds of choices. I will say on liberal TikTok, there has been more willingness to call things out as white supremacist that even I thought weren't white supremacist, because that is their new phrase for anything that looks racist to them. And they are trying to root that out at any shadow of appearance of it. You know, I found myself on the wrong end of accusations on that front, just because I was trying to insist on a dictionary definition of white supremacy. So
Mm-hmm.
when I look on TikTok, I see a problem the other way. They're going too far.
Mm-hmm.
But like I thought about what you said. Like I think when it comes to anti-Semitism, I think we do have a higher degree of sensitivity about that than when some white guy talks about, oh, the black community needs to do X, Y, and Z, right? They can be
Yeah.
prescriptive about it, and they aren't always immediately dismissed on the spot as racist. And I think that we should be speaking out more against that when they make those judgments of a group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and stereotype and try to dismiss other topics based on those stereotypes. We should call that out as racism, and we should be more comfortable doing that, is my opinion.
So, if you were robbed or a crime happened to you, would you feel it was wrong to say the race of the person?
I would hesitate. I think it depends on a number of other factors, whether it was relevant or not. And it's funny because those other factors include, like, well, were you downtown or were you in a suburb, right? Because, like, in the suburbs, you don't expect as many people of color, right? So it might be surprising that you were attacked by a person from that race. Whereas downtown, you might almost expect it, and you'd have to clarify, oh no, the guy was white, you know. So it just
Six.
it depends. It depends. It really depends.
So you would, okay. So you would hesitate when
Yeah.
giving an account of what happened to you if you had to point out the race of the person.
Yeah, it's not the first thing out of my mouth when I'm telling a story. Sometimes people ask, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, they were this or that." But people don't always have to know, and sometimes the subject goes on, and people are people.
I'm I don't want to go because we just started, right? We're only 14 minutes in.
Sure.
But
Okay.
you said something that really, I pulled my glasses down. What do you mean you wouldn't see black people in the suburbs? Like what
So
does that mean?
I'm referring to demographic information and trends. I'm not saying that black people are never in the suburbs. I'm saying
Uh-huh.
that as a fact, they are rare. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the more progressive communities in the country, and there is sort of a de facto segregation that goes on here, because you go in some neighborhoods and you rarely see a person of color, and you go in some neighborhoods and it's like, oh, this is where they put them.
So where do we live?
Where do we live? So I was in Oakland for 6 years, and I spent time in one of my favorite cities on the peninsula. And when I went to the peninsula, it was a very different experience, you know. And I consider myself mixed race, so I was attuned to whether diversity was present or not. And you know, my partner's Hispanic, and even he would not necessarily feel welcome in these areas where, you know, there weren't many people who looked like him. So I had to assure him, no, you just have to be confident, right? We're trying to move past that old way of thinking. And, you know, eventually I got him to hang out in these majority white areas. Um, I think it was completely unintentional, unconscious, and it is changing because in
Hmm.
recent years, as I've hung out in these peninsula areas, I am seeing more people of color than I used to. Um, I know that Stanford University, for example, started offering free ride scholarships for people of color to help balance out that inequity, and it is making a change in the community.
Okay, so we're gonna go with your line of thinking, right? We're gonna go
Hmm.
with this. So if you are saying that it is indeed rare to see blacks in these areas, so you
Hmm.
would be less likely to use their race, we can all use the same logic and say it's rare if you don't find a Jew at the head of the entertainment industry or media,
Oh,
right?
I know where you're coming from, and the you know it's really the same thing when because I have debated actual white supremacists. I have to tell them, you know, like there are facts, there are things that are true, but
Uh
you're
huh.
not supposed to say them.
Why?
This is one
Why
of them.
though?
I think. I mean, I went out and read some articles from Times of Israel and Jerusalem Post on this very subject. I think that they, you know, because I'm not Jewish and I'm trying to get a sense of their point of view, they want to point out that they excelled in America based on their accomplishments, right? When they came to America, they had nothing. They built something out of nothing and they excelled. So like to say that there is some sort of global conspiracy or this or that, it kind of takes away from their accomplishments. And I was mentioning in the Discord chat, you know, like it maybe some races are just good at things, right? Like once we have a world full of equality and we stop looking at race, maybe people of different races end up doing different jobs because that's what they like to do. And I think that's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna play this clip for you. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I'm gonna
Probably
play
not.
this clip for you because here's my, and it's not even an issue.
Hmm.
Here's my gripe. These people come out and say this is what they're doing, right? You mentioned a whole lot of things that just disproportionately affect blacks. We're not here, we're not there, we're getting more scholarships, and that, you know, equality is starting to balance out, equity, all that.
Hmm.
But then you turn the blind eye to Kanye when he's saying, "Hey, bro, they're capitalizing off of black people selling degeneracy." And no, no,
Hmm.
no, 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 you can't. No, there's certain things you're just not supposed to say out loud. But we're
Racially,
supposed to
racially.
constantly tell blacks that, well, you're oppressed. Like, why isn't that something we don't say out loud? Like, why don't we stop saying that?
Yeah, I think in 2014 we had a sort of a movement, or thereabouts anyway. We had a movement to, you know, stop pretending that racism was over, that we're all the same now, because this happy-go-lucky ideal from the 1990s, this Colors of Benetton ads, where we just all hold hands and we're the same, that wasn't enough to end racism. So I think we did bring race more out into the open, and we tried to talk about it in a way that would take down those barriers that were there, invisible barriers, and we started talking about them. You know, why aren't more people of color in X and Y industry? And you know that applies to Hollywood as well. I think there was introspection there. Why aren't there more? Why isn't there more representation in film? And I think it is reasonable to take that discussion to executive boardrooms. The thing I didn't do to prepare for this broadcast is look up actual statistics on racial diversity in those boardrooms. I'm not sure how many of them are of one race or another. I did look up a few heads of companies and couldn't tell that they were Jewish. So I want to say there are already non-Jews there. Um, but yeah, it's just when it comes to Hollywood, like there's a lot of history there, and I, it's a difficult subject. It's complicated.
I'm gonna play this clip, but before I
Okay.
play it, I have I have been talking to a lot of Jewish influencers, on Instagram. We had a whole, I think it was like probably like 2-3 weeks ago now. At first, it was me being like, "F these Jews, bro." Like, nah, I'm standing with the homie Kanye. He's telling the truth. We all know he's telling the truth. It's not the first time we've heard that. Several rappers and black executives in the industry have spoke out about this. I'm gonna play this clip though because I want you to hear what Leor Cohen himself said. It's not like this is coming from Kanye or any other rapper. It's coming straight from his mouth.
Sure.
Really rough, particularly on women. But I think it helped change the course of the crack epidemic. I don't know what's this opioid thing, man. Is
Well, being a crackhead wasn't cool back then. Being a crackhead wasn't cool. Now they seem like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup and
it's the most dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing that's facing our society.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
Because I already answered that question. You weren't paying attention. She asked me talent or issues, and I said talent. But I have to. I can't give up on people.
Don't you think that's hypocritical though? You're saying
it's opportunistic.
Yeah.
I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
You're gonna make Dame Dash take this clip and call you a culture vulture.
Who's Dame Dash?
So you just heard this guy say, "Hey, I'm an opportunist, and I'm gonna choose talent over issues." But then I'm going to sit and complain about an opioid issue that I am contributing to by putting out degenerate music and doing it off the backs of blacks. Like, they're openly saying what they're doing. But Kanye has to shut up. Shh. Nope, don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's say it wasn't that race that was in charge of these businesses. I think they would want to produce things that make money. And, even as a content creator on TikTok, I've found that when I make things too substantive, people fall asleep, I lose numbers, right? I have to be a little bit controversial or find someone who is to get eyeballs. So I think that business dynamic is larger than that one person's comments. I think that would be there no matter who you put in that seat. And it's up to us as consumers to try to change that. I mean, I was plugging an organization in Discord called Hip Hop for Change that actually works on this very issue. They want to pressure record executives to change how they.
It's well,
no. No, the CFO might be. I didn't see her on the webpage. Someone looked it up. But the actual foundation and leadership is African American, as far as I can tell. And even if it was founded by Jews, it's a worthy cause, right? So it's a way to air this grievance and actually work on solving the issue in a way that doesn't invoke racism or stereotypes or things.
But why is it racist for blacks to talk about a problem we're facing? It's we could talk about the issues we face in regards to whites, but we can't talk about the issues we face in regards to Jews. And the only thing I'm getting is, well, you can't group those people like that.
You shouldn't. I think part of it is that they're a smaller minority. They were historically persecuted.
So were we.
So
were blacks.
Yeah, and I think we with what Black people and Jews have in common, you all should build on that, and I would hope have this sort of mutual respect for what you went through, because it is a similar. I can't say it's the same, but I think it's a similar trauma. And I would say it's similar measures needed to overcome it. Granted, Jewish people do experience much more privilege in the sense that a lot of them are white passing, not all, but many are. And I honestly, I don't know where we go from here. I'm not trying to say that I have all the answers here, but I am saying that I think there is a reason why Jews are treated differently, and I think it's just because they're a smaller minority. There is nowhere else in the world besides Israel that they can go, and they came here escaping persecution other places. And America is trying to be a shelter for these and other minorities. I think we're trying to lift up everyone as best we can.
Whew, man, you just said a mouthful.
It's a complicated subject. I wish I had an easy answer or a slogan for it.
You just said a mouthful. You guys can feel free to come on. I did want to talk to 6-1, but we're already pushing the 30-minute mark. So
All right.
I'm going to open the floor to anybody else who wants to come in. I posted the link. If you are going to come in, you have to come in via a computer. It will not work if you do it by your phone. Just FYI. So, man, look, I am the last person to sit and whine and gripe about being black. I think you have noticed that about me with the conversations that we've had.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I will talk about the actual issues and how we need to fix it. I'll talk more so about mindset and culture. But this last month, I have really, let me not even lie. This last year and a half, going on 2 years, I have really seen how blacks are perceived in America. Now, I'm not talking about mainstream. When you have a black person who is well educated, understands the issues, understands the trauma, what happened, how do we move on from it? When you have those people speak out and say, you know what? There's still some harm being done, and this is who's doing it. The world turns off. They don't want to hear it. They will listen to us all day complain about police brutality, even though legit 9 people this year have been killed, unarmed, and black. And the year is almost over. But if we go to different black areas, black neighborhoods, inner cities, that number is tripled. Tripled. And we can't even talk about that. So not only can we talk about black on black crime, which is plaguing us, we can't talk about the abortion rate, which is plaguing us. We can't talk about HIV, which is destroying us. It's cutting our numbers in the population. These things are real. We also can't talk about the vile, disgusting entertainment industry that turns blacks into a fucking chitlin circuit. Like, there are approved narratives for blacks in America. And if you deviate from that, oh, they're going to take you through the ringer. Politics, entertainment, your friends, your family. I'm just noticing this. Like, and I'm not saying it's just blacks, but I am giving it from my perspective because I'm not another group. And I do think that we experience life a little differently just based on culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the shallow end of the intellectual pool. It's a narrow list of approved topics. I don't know if you've heard of the Overton window, but yeah, if you go outside of that limited area, there isn't a whole lot of tolerance, and that is part of why I've been spending more time on Discord lately, because we can go to the deeper end and hopefully not off the deep end, but we can talk about things that are unconventional and try to sort it out, hopefully.
I'm going to read through some comments. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. I already answered your question, Tay. Everyone, feel free to come up. You can come up via your computer. I already posted the link in the chat. There's my auntie. I love you, auntie. She said, well-needed topic. I agree. We got to have these conversations. We have to. I'm just coming from the black perspective, man. That's it. I'm just noticing a black man can't speak out, and it's literally driving me crazy because I watched this country rally behind black people when it came to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, uplift black voices. We need to listen to black people. I watched it. We all watched it for years, only to be told, shut up. That is not an approved talking point for you to be speaking on. Shut up. And if you bring it up again, oh, I'm going to take everything you ever owned. Adidas, gone. Bank accounts, gone. Oh, now your wife is going to come after you for $200K a month child support? Oh, we're going to mess you up there? Bro, why is nobody talking about 2 black men, Kyrie and Ye, being publicly lynched? That is driving me crazy because I genuinely don't understand it. It's driving me mad. It's bothering me. What's up, Plaster? Uh-oh. I can't hear her. Okay. She left. Maybe she'll be back. Harley, Pastor Knack is going to threaten you with exactly. I'm going to take you back to, what did he say? Zombie land, and visits with your children won't be the same. I just don't get it. All right, let's read some more comments. We only uplift black voices when they qualify as an acceptable victim that white people can use to feel good about themselves by helping them. I agree with that. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think there's a grain of truth in that. I think that people want to feel like they're helping. And, there's a difference between true charity, like actually helping others versus, just helping others to make yourself feel good. And it takes extra intellectual effort to do the real kind. And people don't always go through that.
There's a question for you in the chat. Do you believe in censorship?
I am on the fence about it. I think there are certain platforms where it can make sense. The stuff that you have easier access to that everyone is on. I've seen the harm of false rumors, and people don't make an effort to seek out the truth. They want to think they do. They don't.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So like that's my middle ground on it, is like, you can seek out anything you want anywhere, but in the town square, maybe wear a gag sometimes. I'm okay with that.
What? No, bro, I'm a free speech absolutist.
Oh, right. You like Elon then. He's all about that.
He's not a free speech absolutist though. That's a false narrative. No.
He has limits too. That's true.
Yeah, his definition of what hate speech is way too broad. I believe hate speech is just another way to censor people. Like, I don't believe in hate speech. Let's see. That cuts deep. Yeah, I'm going to leave that comment up there because that's a truth that I think liberals exploit, but they point the finger at the other person. And that's also a truth that conservatives ignore and point it back to the other person. It's like monkey in the middle. The reason I don't do either side is because I'm not trading one plantation for another. You're not going to control me. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't talk about. It's just not going down. So F both parties. And it's yay 2024. Now, I will not be voting for him as president, but I agree with the hashtag. And he is very much so needed in today's society, especially for free-minded Black people. If anything, this will wake a ton of Black folks up. Not all, but a lot of Black people will wake up to see exactly what we're talking about and what Mo said in this comment, because it's fact. I've experienced it. It's fact, man.
Yeah.
It's definitely wrong, and I'm not sure how to correct it other than actually naming the people by their names instead of their ethnicity, color, or religious views. I don't agree with that, man. If someone is Black and they did something, hey, this Black person did this. They did it. If it's a group and they just so happen to be Black, what's wrong with saying a group of Black people did this? I'm going to say a group of Mexicans. If a cop is asking me, who attacked you? You're not about to see me sit back and be like, I don't really feel comfortable saying that. No, I'm singing like a canary. This person was white. He was Asian. And look, it was a bunch of people over here. This is what they did. I'm snitching. I'm telling. If you don't support Kanye, then you really don't want, you don't really want free Black voices. You only want controllable ones. What do you think about that?
So in the 1950s TV series Get Smart, chaos was the enemy and control was the good guys. A little bit of self-control, I don't think is a bad thing in this scenario. I understand your concern that he might be overly controlled. I do think what Kanye said crossed a line that should be maintained, no matter who's controlling things.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Why though? Is it because it's specifically the Jews? Like, why though?
Yeah, part of it is the Jews and their history, and part of it is the fact that he used their race to threaten violence. I mean, what does DEFCON 3 mean, right? Like, it wasn't a positive statement to make. And when you are a role model, when you are a public figure, you have a higher set of standards that you're supposed to follow compared to me, the average Joe on the internet.
What does DEFCON 3 mean? And it's actually not DEFCON, it's DEFCON 3. What does that mean?
I haven't researched it in depth. I think it's like a military threat level or...
Here, I'll pull it up for you just so we can both look at it and you can see. I'm not lying to you.
Okay.
This is what it means. Then after we go through what it means, I legit want to know what you think Kanye meant with him just saying this. Okay, let me pull this up. All right, DEFCON 3. So DEFCON 3, or Roundhouse, is an increase in alertness and military readiness, also known as yellow alert status. With DEFCON 3, the Air Force is in a high state or a level of readiness so that they can deploy and mobilize within 15 minutes time. So what do you think he meant by that?
Well, if I were experienced in the military, I might know that he was talking about a warning condition. But because I'm not, I assumed violent intent just by mentioning a defense condition, right? Because normally when you talk about going ballistic on someone or going DEFCON on someone, I would assume that that's violent. I wouldn't necessarily hear a peaceful intent in that.
Even though I just read the definition of
Yes.
it, and it literally just
even though-
means that you have a heightened sense of alertness, like you're preparing for an attack.
It's called jargon, right? Like not all of us are in the military, so not all of us know what that actually means. And if you just hear it conversationally, there's no way to know that it wasn't violent in intent.
Well, I agree with you, but like you said, most people don't fact check anything. They just believe what they read. That's another reason you said misinformation is dangerous. So wouldn't this fall under the category of misinformation?
Perhaps, but when you're dealing with races of people, you don't want that misinformation to spread. And, you know, again, because Twitter is not your best fact-checking environment, that's why you don't say that stuff there. Maybe to your friend, you know, maybe at a bar. I don't think he would have been fired for that, but tweeting, yeah.
Man.
It's rough out there. I know.
I feel, listen, this will be the first time you guys hear me. I feel, this is the first time I feel oppressed in America.
Okay.
The very first time. I've never said this publicly. Never. I have never, ever said this. But I'm legit starting to feel that way because I don't have a First Amendment right. I can't say what I want. The government can come in and do whatever they want.
It is a de facto code of conduct because these companies have set up the standard of behavior. And if you want to keep earning a living a certain way in this country, that is how you have to behave.
Okay, so fine. You're right, because people have a right to employ and work with who they want, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but we live in a mixed economy, mainly capitalism. People would say crony corporatism, but let's just stick for the conversation. For the sake of the conversation, let's not go that deep. He is a capitalist who is still being barred from even opening his own bank. Like, why can't he open his own bank, create his own institutions? Why is he being barred from doing that? It's almost like they're telling us we can't participate in society if we have these views of Jews.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the details of bank licensing regulation, but if there is a government function that he's being blocked from, he can actually file suit based on the First Amendment and claim a right to that government function.
What's up, Brian? I'm not dunking. I don't think I'm dunking on it. I think I'm just having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's pretty decent. I'm not surprised that you're talking like this. This to me feels like the Tim Pool interview. Now let's get into that because we did get into what you view about all this. Mm-hmm. The Tim Pool interview that I sent you is essentially what you're doing here, right? Well, you can't say this. You can't group a bunch of people. And Kanye walked out. How did you view him walking out? Because you watched the first 20 minutes. Did you think he was justified?
No, I thought it was very weak. The host was trying to be fair. He put it in the form of a question. And I think that is the other thing about free speech is that if you're going to stick your neck out, you're going to be in public with a controversial point of view, you need to be able to defend it. I don't care how much people are coming at you. And if you walk away from the table, it just shows that it doesn't reflect well on you. I'll put it that way.
So if I brought you on here
mm-hmm.
and I phrase questions, purposely say things, gaslight, and you say, you know what? This is not worth my time. I'll see you later, Sunni. Are you weak?
Yeah, like that is part of why I hesitate to exit from contentious online conversations because I don't want to be seen that way. There are certain things I would leave over, but I would hope that I put in more of an effort before taking that exit route.
Really? See, look, I believe. I will leave an interview. Number one, if you're being disingenuous. Two,
Mhm.
you're asking me the same things that we've already discussed.
Mm.
Why do you have me here? So I agree with what Kanye did. Let's just go
Okay.
ahead and get right into it. You want to know about
Cool.
the lunch? Let's talk about the lunch. Quit pretending like this is not what I'm here for. He got the clips he wanted. He made his case. He spoke on it, and Tim Pool decided to be a little biz naive. He did. I'm sorry. Tim Pool acted like a whole punk, bro. And the reason I say this, and this is criticism for conservatism, right? I think he's libertarian, if I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken. He could be a bit of conservative and libertarian, whatever. We only can say they when we're speaking about the radical left or the extreme right. Like when we say they, oh, we can differentiate who we're talking about. Well, they, okay, well, who is they? Well, the Democrats. But when Tim Pool is asked, well, who is they? Why won't you say who they is? Well, I don't use they the way you use it. Nigga, you know who he's talking about. Like, it's the stupid things like that that would force me to get up and walk out. What do you mean? Who I don't know who they is. Why don't you want to say it? You know why you brought me here. He referred to him as an anti-Semitic in the beginning of the interview. So what do you mean? I'm not going to talk about who they is. It just doesn't make sense to me. I view it as a strong thing to do. Like, I don't need you. You
So
need
the
me.
the way I saw that was that he didn't want to use the word Jews or Jewish because he didn't want to perpetuate that rumor. So maybe he was being overly sensitive in that moment, and it prevented clear communication, and that could be why the interview broke off. But
Yeah.
that is the kind of awareness, though, I think that you need if you're going to opine publicly on political racial topics.
What's up, Mo? Hey, this is my co-host on a show that I host every Friday, somewhere in the middle.
Hi there,
What's
nice to
up,
meet
Mo?
you.
Hey, what's your name?
Mark.
Oh, Mark. Okay, I didn't catch that.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you because I was typing.
You gotta come in via your computer. It's cutting out on your phone.
It is
Yeah.
computer. I'll be back.
Okay. She'll be back.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. We have some more. Can you see the comments?
I can, yes.
Okay. He said, but he uses black vote all the time. Ye rightfully pointed that out. Yeah, I mean, it's not like 6-1 isn't acknowledging what I've said. He said there is sensitivity around Jews and because of their checkered past, but it's like there are a bunch of minority groups and a majority group in America who have traumatic checkered pasts. And there is no pushback. There is no pushback for me saying I don't think slavery happened to the extent that it did. And I've publicly said these things. I've never gotten backlash. I've never been censored on this topic. The videos that I do on that actually do pretty well. But if I were to say 5 million Jews didn't die, which I've been documented saying, I'm shut down. What's the difference? They're both traumatic. Blacks were enslaved as chattel slaves. Most people will say it's specifically because they're black. Jews specifically went through something because they're Jews, but there's more sensitivity to one group than the other.
Yeah, even as you're talking about it, like the institution of slavery involved larger numbers, but I think what made the Holocaust unique in history is that it was systematic extermination. And I think there's more sensitivity about denying the extent of the Holocaust because there was a certain number involved. We have photographic evidence that it happened and other kinds of evidence. And if you try to deny the extent that Jews were tried to be wiped out, that is denying like their right to exist, I would say, in other places in a semi-protected status, because that protection is there for a reason. Someone tried to wipe out their entire race, and I'm not trying to compare trauma, but it does come to mind as a distinction as you were talking about that.
Well, we can say the same about abortions.
abortion is something that happens inside a woman's body, and it's not someone dictating or organizing or saying, hey, you have to do this. I'm going to physically transport you on a train car loaded back to back without any seating, without any toilets. This is your decision that you make in the privacy of your home, right? So it's a different conversation, I would say.
To answer your question, Tay, this is a conversation centered around Kanye, the Jews, why we can't say anything about the Jews, but blacks are free game. And you can also come in and add to the conversation if you want. Like I said, please feel free to add something if you think I'm missing something, or you think you want to add something to what 6-1 said, or you disagree. You can come up. It doesn't really matter. What was I going to say? Okay, you mentioned abortion not being this systemic thing. It is very much so a systemic issue. It's a systemic issue when you put it under the guise of freedom and then give it to blacks and say, hey, go kill your babies, right? We're already complaining about being a minority in this country. People will deny the origins of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger was a eugenics. Margaret Sanger did not work with civil rights leaders to save the black community. I've heard so many myths. Well, they put the abortion clinics in the black community for white women because they tried to sneak away. Listen, bro, we're in 2022. Abortion clinics are still plastered all over the black community. All over. It hasn't changed. So for that to still be a discussion of, well, it's not pushed. Well, it kind of is when you tell a woman, hey, it's your body. You can go kill it if you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's murder. And we're not going to get into that. But this is an issue that plagues the black community. I gave you 5 things. I gave you black on black crime, HIV, abortion, single parent homes, and the literacy rate.
Mm-hmm.
No one's trying to fix this problem.
Well,
those are atrocities still being committed till this day that blacks face. That's trauma.
Yeah, and I guess I'm referring to the amount of government force involved, because Jews were robbed, relocated against their will, kind of like the Japanese internment camps in World War II, and that didn't happen with the other. The other was a choice that you made. It may have been misportrayed at one time. I don't recall it being misportrayed. I think it was something that women genuinely wanted. There were feminists fighting for that right of all races. And I don't think that there's anything in Planned Parenthood's history that deliberately targeted communities of color for those for that particular procedure. I think it was always portrayed as a women's rights issue more generally. And if they do happen to be in low-income communities, it's because they do offer cheaper access to healthcare. Most of Planned Parenthood's revenue does not come from abortion.
That's fine. We're not discussing where they get their revenue from. We're discussing our Holocaust.
Yeah, well,
which is abortion.
Abortion is black genocide. I don't know if we're going to agree on that. I mean, I looked at the early days of Planned Parenthood and how Margaret Sanger conducted her experiments. She went to Puerto Rico, but she initially did some experiments in Massachusetts. So I don't think there was anything necessarily racial about her going to Puerto Rico. I think it was just a place to be away from media attention.
Media attention.
Yeah, back then there was a gentleman's agreement among newspapers, and it was easier to kind of get away with things. It's not like social media we have today where everything's under the searchlight and microscope. So back then you could actually go to a different place that most people didn't pay attention to and just get away with stuff.
So let's examine your theory of, well, it's not really something that's targeted towards blacks, right?
I'm unaware of any evidence, but if you have it, feel free.
Yeah, I'll send you some. I'll send you some literature.
Okay.
So when we say blacks are disproportionately affected, we are saying they're disproportionately affected because they are such a small minority, but they account for something in mass numbers, correct?
There's a mass number of black people in America.
Okay. So if 30% of all, or 36% of all abortions come from the black community, how could you say that's not a systemic issue?
I'm going to bring back the same word I use for crime, which is socioeconomic, right? When you look at those racial statistics, you also have to look at income and see how much it correlates, because there are probably similar numbers of poor people of other races seeking those abortions because they can't afford the child. And that's why Freakonomics found crime went down when abortion became legal, because the children that were brought into the world were wanted and parents could afford them.
Man. I mean, Roe v. Wade was a piece of legislation written off of a lie. Once again,
I did hear about
demonizing
that.
blacks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was demonizing black people, but I did hear.
She lied and said she was raped by a group of black men.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that angle of it. But yeah, I think at that time, because of the women's rights movement, there was an active effort by the legal community at that time, female, to search out cases that could go in front of judges to help change the plight of women more generally. I don't think when there was an attempt to expand abortion rights, it was like, oh, well, this race shouldn't have so many kids. I think it was more like women are equals to men and they should be able to decide the course of their lives.
Wow. So you don't think that do you think it's a coincidence that this is documented, by the way, from the CDC? 79% of Planned Parenthood abortion facilities are right in minority communities. Like, listen to this again. 79%. That sounds like a systemic issue to me.
That is the low income aspect I was talking about. And there is systemic inequality, economic inequality that traps people in low income neighborhoods. The single biggest predictor of your economic success in America is what zip code you live in. And it's because we don't have a lot of social supports. We don't subsidize education. So people do get trapped in a cycle of poverty here. There are 27 other nations with more social mobility than the United States. It used to be just the UK and Denmark, but now it's all those other wealthy nations because we are not investing in our people.
Man, I would just have to hearken what I've already said. The real issues that blacks face in this country are ignored. They're ignored. But we get to talk about police brutality, which 9 people, bro. 9 people. It's not even like, look, in Chicago alone, we're already at 169 people. Actually, I added it up. It's probably damn near 200-300 people murdered. Not shot, murdered. But we're complaining about police brutality? We're complaining that Kanye is calling out, like, once again, he's calling out an actual issue that we're facing.
Yeah, I think liberals try to work on the gun violence problem from a different angle. And then, these 9 people, social movements do start based on rare, exceptional cases that, grab people's heartstrings or kind of shake them and wake them up to what's going on. We've had previous conversations about statistics on police violence, and hopefully you're able to sort through that evidence to present an alternate case. But what it looked like when, we were woken up to that fact was that, if you're black or brown in America, you're going to have a harder time in the hands of police, and we need to fix that.
I don't even know how to comment on that, man. I don't even know how to comment on that.
We are coming from different places on this, yeah.
We are. Like, I don't know, man. I've been black in America for a long time, raised by a black man, a black woman, my grandparents. I mean, of course, my mother's side of the family is multiracial. We have a lot of different things going on there. But one thing I never heard my father do was say, "It's because I'm black." I've never heard my dad talk like that. I heard my mom speak like that. So it's not a foreign concept to me.
Okay.
But a black man in America, and my uncle's fairly successful. That's what's so crazy about this. Not even fairly. He's a martial arts guru. He's one of the most well-known people in America. So how can we say these things, talk about the issues that technically aren't really plaguing us, but then ignore people like Kanye, or tell them, shh, you're too loud, buddy. And then, nah, you can't talk about this group. Find something else to talk about. And if you're gonna talk about them, then make sure you talk about them in this way. Don't talk about it this way. Like there's so much policing of our language that we can't even talk about the actual issues that we're facing.
That is the catch-22 of cancel culture. And I was talking with one of your viewers earlier and saying that I think this goes back to an earlier debate that we forgot existed from the 1990s, which is how do you handle supposedly racist people when they make these floods? And at that time, we decided to fire them and the debate kind of faded away. And it's like, well, what if firing is too extreme? What if we require sensitivity training, make a public statement with an organization, things you can do to make good on, your honest mistake, because we are all human. I don't think Kanye was intending to wish ill on all Jewish people when he said what he said, but that is how it came across.
Man. So from this point on, I'm going to need people to never say black people do a motherfucking thing. Because if you do it, then you're racist.
It is stereotyping.
I think that's just the heat I'm going with from this point on. Don't ever open your mouth to talk about black people. Don't talk about black people committing crimes. I'm going to talk about it because I'm consistent. But everybody else who's hopping on this, well, you can't say this about Jews. Shut up talking about black people. Shut up. As a matter of fact, shut up talking about white people too. Shut up talking about white supremacy. Shut up talking about the national threat. Quit talking about police brutality. Stop talking about all of it. Because by definition, it is racist for you to do that. So don't talk about it anymore. But you know what's going to happen? People are going to wake up tomorrow and talk about these things, and there will be no backlash. None. This proves Mo's point. There is an approved narrative. And if you deviate from it, they're going to make your life a living hell, which I don't agree with. That's insane to me that we're even going through this in America. He says, I got your way back. What's up, Mo? Do you have anything to add? I've been ranting. No, I can't hear you.
I'm just, her audio.
Yeah. No, I can't hear you.
I think the phone may have actually been better.
I can't hear you. We usually work this out before the show. Okay, I'll take you down until you're ready. Let me know when you're ready. No. No. You see your lips moving? No. I know what you said, though. You said, fuck. What are you doing? Are you like wiggling something? No, I can't hear you at all. Mm-mm. Sign language, no. They said do sign language.
Oh my Lord.
Mo was dropping some heat in the comment section. What is happening? You got to come on for this.
Now, do you hear me now? Do you hear me?
Yeah,
now?
I hear you now. I hear you.
Hey.
Oh, yes. Okay. Pardon my two-tone body, but I was not prepared to be on camera and I was self-tanning. So I look crazy. I was in the process of racial appropriation and I got interrupted watching this live. Sorry. Okay.
So, what do you think so far, Mo?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's just being so tiptoed around. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the problem that we have as a society is there's all these unspoken rules that we can't talk about this person and we can't say it like this, but we can say it like this. And we have to be careful with this group of people because they went through this. Everybody went through something. If we all start telling each other the truth and stop worrying about feelings, which is why I support Kanye, because he's not only is he not worried about other people's feelings, but he himself is putting a lot on the line for the sake of saying what needs to be said. He could quietly sneak away to his little yak ranch in the middle of the mountains of Wyoming, be happy with his bank account, and for some reason he wants to do what he's doing. And you have to ask yourself, why is it so important for a man to risk everything, put his family on the line, his life, his livelihood, all for the sake of just saying something? Does anybody wonder why he is putting that all on the line? Does it make his point a little bit more relevant when you say, because I always think to myself, I always look at what risk is somebody putting out there by saying what they're saying? What are they risking? Because if you're not risking anything, right, Sean, if you're not willing to lose something to say what you're going to say, then obviously it wasn't that important.
Facts.
What do you think about that, Mark?
Her ad is Let's Talk Darling. It's right there.
I mean, it does help me see it from a new perspective. I think before you mentioned that possible cause, I was thinking that for him it was vanity. But he may actually have selfless causes, so I'll take a second look at what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think definitely I can understand why you think that, because maybe the old Kanye was very much a vanity obsessed person. But I think what he's trying to do is to show people like, hey, I'm willing to lose all of that. Like, this isn't about that. Hence why, everybody's making a big deal about him wearing Adidas and Balenciaga, because I think even in that, he's making a point. It doesn't matter if I wear it or I don't wear it and you cancel it or you don't cancel it. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. We need to speak. Wearing a Balenciaga belt or Adidas shoes or a Nike shirt isn't going to do anything to these companies. But speaking out and calling out details on exact people is going to move the needle. But everybody wants to play it safe. They want to say, oh, well, I'm woke because I burned my Balenciaga boots, or I stopped shopping at Nike, so I'm with the program. No, you're not. Because you're typing that message from your Apple phone while holding your Starbucks latte. So
that part.
Right.
That part. What up, OG?
Yo, what up? How you doing?
I'm good. I saw you in the comments. You wanted to hop in on the conversation.
Yeah. I was just checking out what who was that Mark was saying, right? It's here's the fact of the matter is sometimes you just have to be black to understand this shit. If you're not black, you won't understand it. You won't understand what black people have gone through, especially someone of my age, to where I remember going down to Alabama and still seeing water fountains for coloreds, and whites, so as far as a Planned Parenthood, yeah, the shit's not planned. If anyone knows anything about Margaret Sanger, she did it because she was a eugenicist, and she did it because she wanted to exterminate black people.
Yep.
Period. End of fucking discussion. That's what it was all about. That's why, like you said, you see all these Planned Parenthoods in black neighborhoods. You don't see Planned Parenthoods up in these white and Jewish neighborhoods. You show me one Planned Parenthood in a Jewish neighborhood, I'll shut the fuck up. Until then, and until then, it is a black atrocity. It is black extermination. That's exactly what it is, and it was planned and it was designed. And for anyone to sit up here, if you know the history of it, if if you're really honest with yourself, being a human being, then you will know that that's exactly what it is. And Planned Parenthood does make most of its money from abortions. Oh, no, I take that back. They make most of their money from selling baby body parts from abortions.
Yeah,
and organs. That's where they make billions from, and that's a known fact because they had Senate hearings on it. So other than selling baby body parts and black baby organs, it is abortion. It's not health care. Planned Parenthood is nothing about health care. Yeah, you can go and get some birth control pills for free, but that's not, like, if you go and look at their books, They don't make any money off of those birth control pills. They want you to come in and have abortions. And as far as black people being able to say what we want to say, because I've experienced it, I told you this, I experienced during my campaign.
Yep.
If you compare anything to the fucking Holocaust, then you are anti-Semite. And that ain't got shit to do with it. I'm not an anti-Semite. I had Jewish people running my campaign. My public affairs director was, by design, a Jewish woman from Israel. And she was on my show. She was an Israeli. She wasn't an Ashkenazi, but she was really from Israel. In that region. You can tell by her complexion that she was from the region. So if we're going to be honest, let's just stop all the bullshit and do understand black people, we don't have the right to say everything we want to say when it comes down to certain ethnicities or certain ethnic people. We can talk about black people all day, and guess what? So can everybody else.
Yep.
Everybody else, you got these white boys walking around saying nigga. You got anybody going around, saying whatever they want to say, to the rap music. And yes, you have these record executives pushing this shit into our black neighborhoods and into the airwaves to continue to brainwash these young black adults, men and women, into thinking that they're less than anything else. So we're not going to just take this bullshit talking about, oh, no, it's not by plan. Yeah, the shit is planned. And these Jewish people and these record executives who just happen to be Jewish. It's not an attack on Jewish people, because I know some people might say, oh, he's anti-Semite. Fuck you. I'm not an anti-Semite. We're just going to be straight up about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the truth about certain things. Yeah. Okay, I don't hate any race or any ethnicity of people. But if we're going to tell the truth, we're going to tell the truth, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. And what they're doing to Ye and what they did to Kyrie was total bullshit.
Yep.
Period.
Facts. I agree.
So you had me looking up the demographics for the nearest Planned Parenthood to me, and the zip code there is 65% white, if that makes you feel any better. And there's a breakdown of Planned Parenthood's revenue out there somewhere. I did look at it.
Yeah, but
I will double check it because I don't think it included.
Okay, but you're just pulling up one. Let's pull up. Let's pull
exactly.
up. Let's pull up many.
Sure.
No, it's not gonna make me feel better because they have one closer to your zip code. Nah, that shit ain't gonna make me feel no better. How about let's take them out of all the black neighborhoods? That'll make me feel better. Let's take them out of all the black neighborhoods and let's put them all closer to your zip code. Let's do that, and let's see how you freak out. Let's see how the people in your zip code freak out when you have 2 and 3 Planned Parenthoods nearest to your zip code and not nearest my zip code.
We wouldn't freak out. I think most of us support a woman's.
No, absolutely you would. Let's just be honest, bro.
Not at all.
No, I'm not gonna let you sit up here and pontificate when I know the facts of that. Okay, if you start putting these Planned Parenthoods in these white neighborhoods, then first of all, it won't happen. Let's just be honest. First of all, it will never happen. For most of them to be in these white neighborhoods, because that's not the design. That's not the plan.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things from my friends about Planned Parenthood. I know that they're a source of low-cost health care and preventive screenings. And
How many of your friends have gone in there for abortions?
I haven't asked them that personal question, but I've never heard of a protest. I've never heard of a protest of an opening of a Planned Parenthood. I think more people would want that in their community.
Wow.
Oh, well, you haven't been in the black neighborhoods where we protest these Planned Parenthoods.
Facts, man.
Before, where we go, on these March for Lives, protesting against Planned Parenthoods and the extermination of babies. And it's not just black babies. I'm against the extermination of all babies, first of all. But unfortunately, it has been mostly black babies that have been exterminated since the inception of Planned Parenthoods.
I think you could say that they're disproportionately black, but I don't think that was an effort to say, like, hey, we need to do this to black people specifically. I know that Margaret Sanger met with MLK, and whatever her opinions on eugenics were, I don't believe it was racially motivated. I believe it's in the name of the organization. They just want people to be able to make informed decisions.
Do you know drugs? MLK was a socialist?
I'm aware that MLK was a socialist. Yes, his socialist leanings don't get highlighted enough, actually.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
thank you, Deneen.
I don't know, bro.
Absolutely
like,
right.
it's It's like I mean I'm gonna keep repeating this until it gets through people's heads.
Okay.
There is an approved narrative for Black people to speak, and when you don't speak it, you are ignored. Like
Mhm.
you have the OG up here who has far more experience in this country than I do, in traveling, in military, right? Far more experience than I do. But we have the same general consensus that this is harming our community, right? And I'm just going to highlight the fact that you're white for a second. Or are you white passing? I don't even remember what you said you were.
I am half white, and
Okay.
depending on the conversation, I can be white or a terrorist or whatever people want me to be.
Okay. But you're telling us I don't think that's the issue. No, I don't know. I don't think that's going on. No. My friends have told me this. You got two niggas right here, my guy, telling
Mhm.
you this is messing us up, and you're choosing to ignore. This is exactly what people are doing to Kanye. They're
No,
choosing
no,
to
man, you're not
ignore
right.
it.
You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You black, but you don't know what the hell you're talking about, brother. Like I haven't lived it. Like I haven't protested outside of these Planned Parenthoods. Like I haven't
Mhm.
gone down and walked in these places and see mostly us.
Yeah,
It
I was
is.
raised in the evangelical church, and they tend to spread rumors about Planned Parenthood. So I am very skeptical when I hear stories about them that don't
Have you
match
ever
up.
been in one? Have you ever been into one?
I have. Yeah, I actually visited one with a friend because we were looking for STD testing.
Oh,
I decided
the one near your neighborhood, right?
we were living there at the time. Yeah.
Well, I've been in one to get an abortion when I was in college, and I had to go to a bad neighborhood,
Yes.
to the city,
Hmm.
and I was
It
in
was.
California.
Tell me about it.
Because it wasn't one up in your hood.
There
Nope.
wasn't one in the suburban, that suburban
That's
area that
right.
you said a lot of Black people don't live in. There wasn't one there.
Yeah, the one near me is fairly suburban, and then the one I went to with my partner is in downtown Hayward.
In downtown Hayward, what's the demographics in downtown Hayward? Where's Hayward? You in
Hayward is very
California?
diverse. Hayward is part of the Bay Area. It's called the heart of the Bay. Let me see what their
And by the way, while you're looking that up, I did look up the percentage, and 79% of the clinics are in
Mhm.
underserved minority neighborhoods.
I told them
Yeah,
that.
as a function of income, I would say.
No, it's not a function of income.
not
It's a
a function
function
of
of
income.
no. It's a
Color.
function of plan and color.
If
It's a
if you
function of plan and
compare
color.
if you compare the influencing factors, I think you'll find such a large overlap. It's impossible to say which was the motivating factor.
But if you go back and look at the history of the woman who invented it, let's just stop playing the word games, bro. Let's stop doing that. You go back and look at who the lady was and what she said, and exactly what she was about. And then you just bring it forward. Let's just stop playing. Oh, no, I don't think it was that. I don't think it was motivated by that. So if it wasn't motivated by that, why are all of these in underserved Black neighborhoods?
Uh,
If that wasn't the motivation,
I
just
mean, I'll say
because
it a third
the
time.
property was cheap.
Yeah, I'll say it a third time. It is to serve low income people. And part of that is to give them access to preventive health care. I think people forget whatever percentage of their income it is, Planned Parenthood is there to provide cheap health care for low income individuals. They are not just there for abortions.
What's the health care that they provide?
Mammograms, pap smears, breast cancer screening, STD testing, etc. And most people that visit Planned Parenthood are not there for an abortion. It's actually about around like, if I can remember from their breakdown, I think it was like 30 to 40%, maybe.
Whose breakdown? So you're talking about Planned Parenthood's breakdown of their own business, right?
Yes, which like I don't think that there's
Okay,
back
so
there
those
looking
numbers,
books,
so
right?
those numbers can never be skewed. So those numbers can never be,
And you can choose never to
written
believe
in a
them,
way,
right?
right?
Like, because who else can collect the data, right? They'd have to have exit polling at every Planned Parenthood center, and I bet you they're not faking it.
And they also said that they
I
weren't.
bet you.
And they also said that they were not selling baby parts until it was a proven fact. Until people went in there
Exactly.
with undercover cameras. Until they had Senate hearings under oath and of perjury.
Exactly.
Where they never admitted that either, right? So I don't think that we can take their word for it that they're on their books or whatever they say, because if you ask anyone, matter of fact, I don't even think you can call Planned Parenthood and set up a healthcare screening. You know, I mean, from what I understand, because I had a friend call to, you can't even schedule a mammogram. They may have all that on there, but you don't schedule that. You don't
I
call
may have
them
misspoke.
for
I
that.
think it was a pap smear. I don't think it's a mammogram.
They don't do pap smears either.
They do.
I mean,
yes.
honestly, I'm gonna say I don't believe the numbers only because I remember like the recent virus numbers. I can't say the word on here, but those were severely skewed.
Absolutely.
But like as you stated, Planned Parenthood does quite a few different types of services. So let's just say I go in there for an abortion, an STD test, and some birth control after I dispose of my unborn child. What are they logging that under? Are they accurately logging that, or are they putting a tick under each
So
section?
the breakdown I saw was not by person; it was by dollar. So I misspoke. I think when I said 40% of people, right? I was kind of estimating from the dollars, but they don't make most of their money from abortions is the main point. If you look at the breakdown, and just looking at their website, they do offer primary care. They offer HIV testing.
Well,
They have men's
obviously,
health
no,
services.
but that makes sense because abortion is a one and done thing, and the majority
Yeah.
of the revenue comes from Medicaid or Medicare or whatever it is. Medicaid, I think it is. So think about it. You go in there for an abortion, the majority of their money is going to come from, okay, you have this abortion. They're gonna, and I know because I went. The next thing they do is give you a birth control pill, and that's more money that they're billing your Medicaid, right? Like so. Again, I don't believe those numbers, especially since you're going by the dollars.
Money talks, right? The reason why I cite the dollars is because people assume that Planned Parenthood is in it for the money. There's all sorts of rumors and slander being spread about them. That was why I looked up that particular figure, because they're saying, oh, well, they're just trying to profit off of women's difficult situations. And it's like, no, they're there for things more than just abortion. And people do go there for that. Yeah.
So, do you see this quote up here? You see that? That came straight from Planned Parenthood. The next step for Planned Parenthood is recognizing that Margaret Sanger's racist legacy continues today. As abortions continue to disproportionately impact minority communities, especially Black. My guy, the origins of this lady is racism. Even Planned Parenthood has acknowledged what Margaret Sanger's initial goal and plan was.
I don't
It
know
was
if
to
that
exterminate
says,
the Black race.
yeah, I don't know if that says something about a plan. I think it's talking about the result, and we're looking at systemic racism, right? That's
Bruh,
unintentional racism.
I
Do
just
think
read a
you're right.
direct quote.
I understand that direct quote, and I'm telling you that is referring to the systemic racism that results from their having aimed it at low-income communities. It was an unintended side
Wow,
effect.
bro.
Yeah.
No, it says Margaret Sanger's
Legacy.
racist legacy. Bro,
Yeah.
her plan for Planned Parenthood was to exterminate the Black race. It is
Yeah,
called the Negro Project. Go read
I
it.
have. Yeah, I do have some reading to do. I just haven't seen that evidence previously.
Man, you have a lot of reading to do, my man. You have a whole lot of reading to do. Those are just facts. And I'm not saying that as an insult, but you really have to go back and do some research on the woman, do some research on Planned
Oh, I did.
Parenthood, do some research on
Yeah,
all of the numbers,
I did.
on
I
the
went back and looked because I had to understand how did this all start, because I heard the accusation and I was looking at how she started Planned Parenthood, why she started it, what her stated intentions were, and what the early media coverage was. And the accusation at that time is like, oh, well, she's racist because she experimented on Puerto Ricans. And so I had to evaluate, did she go to Puerto Rico specifically to harm brown people? And no, she didn't, because the experiment started in Massachusetts. So
okay, so where did she go?
not a
So how
racism.
many white people are in Puerto Rico?
Well, that was what I was just talking with Suni about earlier, is that she went there to get away from the media coverage. It wasn't about harming brown people specifically, because they did experiment on people of all races.
So why didn't she go?
It was not
So why didn't
targeted.
she go to England? So why didn't she go to England?
Right?
They had to get away from the laws involving the specific kind of experiment they wanted to conduct. And as a U.S. territory,
Right. Exactly.
Wait,
That's exactly
wait.
right. They had to get away from the laws because of the experiments that they wanted to conduct, and it just happened. It just happened to be in Puerto Rico, where there's nothing but brown people.
that was the easiest,
Mark-
cost-effective way for them
Mark-
to do it. Yes.
Listen, 6-1. I got to give you this clip, bro. I do this to everybody that comes on, so don't take it personal. But you doing a whole lot of capping right now, my guy. A whole lot.
I don't think so, because
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop fucking lying.
Bruh, quit playing.
No, I actually read about it. So I might have more reading to do, but that was what I gathered from my previous research.
What's up, Liddell? I see you down there chilling. You don't look impressed.
And I mean this with great respect to my man Mark. It's been great dialogue, brother. You seem like you're a very intelligent young man. I don't know how old you are, so I'm gonna say you're young, brother.
Thank you.
Not a problem time. But the mental gymnastics
It is a workout, yes.
around this topic, brother, is not really looking good on you big time.
So that's the thing. I don't trade in appearances. I care about facts, right? So if someone's accusing someone of something, I go back and look at the historical sequence of events, and I'm like, I try to read intent from that. And from that sequence, I didn't see intent.
But Mark, even with your own logic, if you're saying that she left the United States and she intently went to Puerto Rico, that's an intent.
So Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. She didn't leave the U.S. specifically. It was just leaving all U.S. states.
Semantics. Gotcha. No problem.
Small, but okay.
Okay. Are there any Caucasian people in Puerto Rico?
That is a good question. I actually don't know. Let me check.
Hey, okay. Check that out big time. I would love to see
Rican
it.
right here.
I'm a Puerto Rican.
and number two, again, I'm a terms and definitions guy. So when I hear the word intent, I love the word intent. Two things. Number one, we just saw Susu literally read an intended statement from Planned Parenthood. That fits the definition of intent. Okay.
So racist does have multiple meanings these days, and one of the definitions is systemic racism. I mean, I have yet to read Margaret Sanger's racist writings. I have yet to see a single thing she said that was derogatory about minorities specifically. I might be in the dark on that. Enlighten me.
You gotta read.
Quote her. Don't
She
quote
just
Planned
read it.
Parenthood. No, don't quote Planned Parenthood. Quote her.
She's dead.
But you wrote stuff. She talked.
Like
you're making an accusation that has nothing there.
Okay,
if you're just
while
pointing
you
out someone else
talk,
wrote
Liddell,
about
I'm
it.
gonna go pull up a direct quote from Margaret Sanger. Go ahead, Liddell.
Okay.
Go ahead. Not a problem.
I'm here
Quick
to help.
question. No, Mark, thank you, brother. And I won't be on long. At all. Again, to that word intent. Help me understand, where are the majority, if not all, of the Planned Parenthood things, the locations? Where are they at?
So I've been saying it's low-income neighborhoods, and yes, minorities are more likely to be low-income. We're recognizing that now. I think they're trying to reverse that trend. That's why you saw that quote.
Hold on. Gotcha. So if they're again intent. Yeah. All right. So if they intendedly made an investment, okay, to put said Planned Parenthood centers in low-income area, doesn't that show an intent to target some audience?
Perhaps. I mean, I think that because of her early eugenic views, it's quite possible that when they were first building Planned Parenthoods way back in the day, not necessarily recent ones, they were trying to help low-income people not burden themselves, and by extension, not burden society.
So what is the majority?
Wait, hold up, Mark. Here's a quote from Margaret Sanger: birth control must lead ultimately to a cleaner race.
Yes.
Well, that would speak to her view on eugenics, right?
There's also one at the bottom.
Here's a quote.
I'll read because there's a ticker at the bottom. It says, as an advocate for birth control, I wish to take advantage of the present opportunity to point out that the unbalance between the birth rate of the unfit and fit, admittedly, the greatest. Oh God, that messed me up. My glasses are too dark. Sorry, I gotta take these off. The greatest menace to civilization can never be rectified by its inauguration of a cradle competition between these two classes, the unfit and the fit. In this matter, the example of the inferior classes, the fertility of the feeble-minded, mentally defective, and the poverty-stricken classes, by your definition, who falls in that class?
Yeah, so I think that's actually backing up my point, which is that it was primarily income driven, right? And then we now know, because of our understanding of systemic racism, that when you target low income people, race is part of that.
So hold on. Hold on. So okay, if it's low income, and let's go back into Margaret Sanger's time frame. During that time frame, who was the poorest folk in the Union?
Yeah, it probably was minorities. I'm just saying it wasn't exclusively aimed at them.
Come on.
Mark.
I'm not going with you down this road. I don't subscribe to this theory.
Mark, here's a quote for you.
We got to be honest, though, big dog. We got to be honest. During Margaret Sanger's time frame, who were the poorest? Who was the poorest in the Union?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is Margaret Sanger was trying to solve.
My man ain't gonna say the word, bro. Like,
I'm not.
Mark,
it's a rhetorical question.
So, Mark, are you being intellectually dishonest, big dog?
It's not dishonest. No, this is not dishonest.
Really? So
really,
because you want my bad, OG, but give me.
No, you good. No, go for it, man. Take your time, Take your time.
I need you to use this same logic around what Kanye said about the Jews, Mark. Come on now,
Mark.
Come on, Mark. I need you to use the same logic.
Mark, I am using your logic, and you keep pulling it back to Margaret Sanger. So I said, okay, let's go back to her time frame. Got it. Let's go back to her time frame because your whole focus is on her. So I said, okay, during that time frame, okay. Let me pull out my inner Trump. I'm sorry with my hand. During that time frame, okay, who were the poorest folk in the Union? And you know who it is, but you won't say it.
Well, no, I already did. You're just asking me to repeat myself. And also, are you familiar with
I was on live. I wasn't there, brother. But can you say it again for your party so I can hear it?
Well, I don't want to repeat it at this point because it's a rhetorical.
Wait a minute. Are you pulling a Kanye, like walking out on Tim Pool move right now? Like you don't want to see? See,
I have been tempted to hang up, but I'm not leaving.
Play the clips.
I am here to tell you that.
Play the clips, Susu.
Okay, Mark, I'm gonna point you somewhere.
Check on this very question, and it is.
Don't hang up, Mark. Don't hang up.
Hey, Mark, here's your quote. Here's your quote, Mark. Okay, are you listening to me?
Sure.
Okay, this is a quote. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. That was in a letter to Dr. Clarence J. Gamble, December 10th, 1939, and you will find that on page 2 of that letter. So with that said, there's nothing else to be said. That was her own quote. Period. That was it.
Okay. Yeah, I did ask you to find her own words, and well, here we go. Planned Parenthood actually has something to say in reply, so I'm going to see what they're saying about that.
Why are you fighting?
So hold on. I thought we wanted to go to Margaret Sanger. We did that. Yeah. Now we pivoting back to Planned Parenthood. Pick a side, big dog.
The reason why I'm seeing what they're saying is because it could be a legitimate quote, and some of them have been made up. So I'm trying to see what's Planned Parenthood has to say.
She wrote it, bro.
Black people lie. That's what he just said.
But Suni just read. She actually read something from Planned Parenthood, which backs up what OG just read. Yep. Which one is it? So either way it goes, it's the same in intent, big dog. Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark.
I mean, Mark, you're a smart guy. Hey, Mark. Yeah, I think you're a smart guy. Okay, I honestly think you're a smart guy. Take the L on this one, bruh.
Come on, just take the L on
this
one, bro. We love you, baby. You my dude, big dog.
Here's the thing, because I don't have the full context. You know, I am a natural skeptic. I do have to read this for myself before I come to a conclusion. You might have reasons for what you're saying. I have reasons for being skeptical.
Okay. All I'm saying is, if when you read it, we don't want no mental gymnastics. We don't want none of that. We want.
Hey, what media?
And when you see her words in quotation marks, that mean it came from her. Okay.
What media source do you trust the most?
I mean, there's no one that I would hang my hat on, but like NPR comes to mind as a neutral.
Do you like New York Post?
NPR.
They're not neutral, but I mean, hey, if you have something to say
NPR?
from them,
Did
I'm
he
not
say
going to block it out.
NPR?
He said NPR.
He
NPR
said
is no
NPR
way
is
neutral.
stupid.
NPR? Oh my
And the reason
God.
why I say NPR is neutral is because they are corporate funded, so they have a balance between liberal and conservative points of view. They do. You may not like that balance that they strike. But, yeah.
Hey, Mark, let's go there. Were they fair and balanced in the Trump administration?
I think Trump did a lot that didn't deserve balance.
Didn't deserve. Oh, based on what logic, brother? Based on what honest logic are you coming to the conclusion that he
The
does
rule of
not
law.
deserve balance?
The rule of law,
What
checks and balances.
Okay.
You know,
What law did
and,
he break? What law did he break? Give me the
so
statute.
yeah, there you go. I don't think his impeachment went far enough. I think that he violated the emoluments clause of the Constitution. There's plenty of
How?
evidence of trading favors with people staying at his hotel.
So if that's the case, why haven't they not indicted them yet? Well, you're saying it's clear.
So that I know why Pelosi didn't indict him on it, and it was a stupid strategy. And I disagree with
can't
Pelosi
indict
on
him.
this.
She can't indict him.
Pelosi actually was the person who had to draft the articles of impeachment while he was sitting as president. And by the way, violating the Constitution is different than violating civil or criminal law, right? So just because the Constitution prohibits something doesn't mean that you can prosecute a private citizen. I think.
Hey,
I'm not a lawyer, but I think that is how.
Mark, we got a problem because if what you're saying is the special counsel should have easily convicted him of that. Why did he do it?
Well, no, I was going to say, like, once you're out of office, I don't think you can be prosecuted for
The special counsel was
crime,
there.
right?
No, the special counsel was there. Big dog was there when he was president. That means nothing. So we talk about the special counsel.
Right. So
if what you're saying is right, why didn't they indict him?
So the people that have to convict the president while he is in office are Congress. It is their job to prosecute and try the president. And Pelosi specifically limited what she wanted to try the president on because she was afraid that the American people wouldn't be able to follow the process. She called it impeachment light. That's why she only brought the one charge. It was weak and it got dismissed. And she should have drafted more articles of impeachment. I think that was her mistake.
So you understand that impeachment is a political process. You keep using the word indictment. So an indictment is a legal term. So when we say indictment, I'm a terms guy. Are you looking from a Department of Justice standpoint or a political standpoint?
I think I said articles of impeachment because I am talking about.
You said indictment.
I don't think I did, but you know,
my bad. Go ahead.
Maybe I did say.
My bad.
It's possible I said Congress has to indict the president, but the way they indict him is through the articles of impeachment.
But here's my thing. You are pointing toward legal statutes, emoluments clause. These are legal statutes on the books.
And no one's above the law.
If what you're saying is correct, and you said and then this is a legal precedence. So now you are bleeding to the Department of Justice now. Okay? So you're using a legal precedence. If what you're saying is correct, the DOJ should have indicted him easy because he violated the literal law itself based on your logic. And number two, when it comes to Pelosi, why didn't she put the emoluments clause in the impeachment thing? It wasn't there.
Well, I just told you why she didn't put it in there, and I disagreed with her on that. I think it was a stupid move. She should have impeached him fully on everything he was actually guilty of and trusted the American people to be smart enough to know what was actually going on.
Could it be that he didn't violate it? Why is that not an option?
I don't think that was it. No, there's lots of evidence that happened.
How did he violate the emoluments clause? Again, that's a legal thing on the books. I'm trying to figure out why did the DOJ come in and indict him?
So emoluments in the Constitution is not the same thing as civil and criminal law. That is why the Department of Justice wasn't able to assemble a case. It is a conflict of interest that exists for a sitting president. And the only way to address it is through the impeachment process. It is not a purely political process. It is supposed to hold the president accountable to the law. And by the way, Pelosi fell down on the job on that. I will blame her for that. She's not a perfect person.
So she had 2 times, she impeached him 2 times. And what you're saying is she purposely didn't put a law that you said that she knew that he violated.
Yep.
Because
it was called impeachment light.
Because the American people were too stupid to understand what was going on?
That's exactly what impeachment light is. Yes, you can read more by Googling that phrase.
That is the stupidest and dumbest mentality I've ever heard in my life. He violated the law. He violated the law. I don't like him. I'm not going to put it in impeachment proceeding. I have the power to do it because the American people are too stupid. That makes sense.
Yes, I agree with you how dumb it was, and it's one of the stupider things she's ever done. I'll never.
Am I tripping, y'all?
No,
bad,
you're
y'all.
not, Mark.
My
Mark,
bad, y'all. I'm sorry.
Mark, do you even understand what the emoluments clause is?
Uh, I didn't come here prepared for this particular debate, but
What
as I
I mean,
recall,
no. But you should be
as I
prepared for the
recall,
debate because no, hold on 1 second. Let me
Let me
explain
read the
what I'm
Marvin's
about to
clause
say.
real fast.
Because you brought up and you said that Nancy Pelosi should have brought him up on the emoluments clause. You felt that she
Yes,
didn't go far enough because he
yes.
violated the emoluments clause, right?
Last time I read about it, yes, that was the feeling that I
Okay,
had. And I don't
okay,
keep this at top of mind at all times, right? Because I'm not like get
It's
Trump,
all
get
good.
Trump, get Trump. I'm just a person who talks about politics online. And as I recall, emoluments has to do with profiting off something while you were in office related to your personal businesses. That's why he had divested his stuff into a blind trust, which
Okay.
some people argue did not go far enough, because he still, in my
Based-
view, obviously made decisions while in office that personally benefited him and his businesses. And that
What
case
what
could
what
have
what
absolutely been
what
prosecuted.
okay,
what
but
decision
that's
did he
not what
make?
the emoluments.
So one
That's not.
example, is the you've heard of the travel ban. He specifically excluded countries that he was doing business with. So it wasn't the public policy was not made based on public health or public terrorism or anything like that. It was just based on
Okay.
who he did business with.
Okay, stop. Okay, stop. Stop.
Sure.
Okay. That has nothing to do with the emoluments clause. Okay, let me tell you why. Okay. The emoluments clause, it prohibits federal office holders, and I ran for Congress because I had to understand this, about receiving gifts, right? Federal office holders from receiving any gift, payment, or anything of value from a foreign state, rulers or officers or representatives, and that includes the federal government. And what the clause says is that no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present emolument, office, or title, or any other kind, whatever, from a king, prince, or foreign state. Now, what that means is this, right? And the Constitution also says that it has a domestic emoluments clause as well, which prohibits the president from receiving any emolument or payment from the federal government or the states beyond the compensation for his services as chief executive. It has nothing to do with his private businesses or anything like that. What it has to do with, he can't accept gifts or favors or money or titles from foreign
USA
countries
pay dates.
or
These are the top results.
the federal government. So that's what the
Okay.
emoluments clause is. So your argument saying as far as the emoluments clause really is not valid.
So based on that definition, what would you call doing business with a foreign country, right? Like
He wasn't
if
doing.
he wasn't.
No,
Not as president. No,
but-
not as
but-
president. He was not.
Interesting.
And also, OG, the countries that you talk about, Mark, those were the same countries that Obama picked out. So is Obama guilty now too?
I had not heard that previously, actually, that it was the same countries that Obama picked out.
Oh
No.
yeah, all he did was it was Obama's countries. He said, you know what, I'm going to use these countries. So is Obama guilty now?
I will have to look into that, and you may have actually
No
changed
problem.
my mind on it. If they really were 100% the same,
like you,
I'm wrong on that, and I'll admit it.
I like you, Mark, man. You all right with me, big dog. You really
No,
you,
we-
I like you a lot.
You still, hey, look, they talking about Trump, bro. I'm still on this Margaret Sanger stuff. Hey, man. I don't care about Trump. Trump 2024. Hey, look. Come on, man. Come on. Look, Planned Parenthood is finally removing the name of Margaret Sanger, its founder, from the Manhattan Clinic, ending decades of denial about her horrid racist views. And it actually gives a Supreme Court case that was heard in 1927 that forced sterilizations on blacks, and it was used during the era of Jim Crow. So I don't know who was considered illiterate back then besides niggas, unemployable
you can be
besides
sure white people-
niggas. Nah,
White people were included in that, absolutely.
criminals, dope fiends. Like, come on, man. Come on.
We are all recognizing today, because of the concept of systemic racism, we understand that eugenics disproportionately harms people from other ethnic backgrounds. And
Say black people. Mark, say black people.
Exactly.
Stop,
Stop
Mark,
playing.
stop saying other ethnic backgrounds.
Hey,
say
there was
black
a reason
people.
there was a reason I used that phrase.
You can
because
say
it
black
wasn't,
people here. Mark, you
I
can
say
say
black people, but it wasn't just
Yeah.
black people affected by that decision, right? It was black and brown people and indigenous people.
See, hey,
BIPOC,
look,
if you will.
now you know what he sounds like? You sound like
Mhm.
when conservatives are trying to debate police brutality with lefties when we say, well, it's not because they're black, it's because they actually probably did something. And you know what you guys say? No, this officer treated him this way because he's black. They don't treat any other race this way. Well, no other race has abortion clinics in their neighborhoods, but we sure do.
Well, I looked up the one in Hayward. It is actually 30% white, 30% Asian. 2 or more races is like 9%. Black people is 10%. So it actually reflects the country's demographics.
I quit. How come you're not dealing with the 79%? You go into the other percentage.
I'm
Clearly, there's a
you.
percentage of abortion clinics
I'm
that are
trying to-
in other neighborhoods, but predominantly, where are they?
Predominantly, and I am trying to show you that it's not exclusively there. They're not
Bruh.
targeting those places. That is historically how it came about. And there is a historical fallacy called presentism, right? Projecting today's values onto the past. This is where I disagree with woke culture, and I think it becomes excessive because they expect that person back then who lived in that era to share what we know today about our senses and morality, right? And that just doesn't happen. We can't use a time machine and go back and fix Margaret Sanger's bad views. What she did do at the time, from what I can tell externally, I'll have to read more before I talk too much more, but what I've been able to previously read, it is something that affects all races. And at that time, there was an intellectual defense for it that was not resting on race.
But
all of them.
I read your quote.
To be fair, Mark, we need to recognize that the majority of the race in Hayward, California, is white, and it's only 9% black. So
okay.
White or Asian.
So
it's a pretty
did he
diverse
say it's
community.
9%? So it's 9% black, and the black people get 10% of the abortions.
So black people represent about, I think, 10 or
9.8.
12% of the U.S. population. Of the U.S. population, I think it's 10 or 12. Maybe I'm wrong.
We're talking about Hayward, though. Let's stick to Hayward.
It's
we can
gone
stick
down
to
from
Hayward.
13. I wonder why.
I was guessing. I don't remember the exact number. And so, like for Hayward, if it's at 9%, you would have to see like what percent of Planned Parenthood's abortions are among those races. And it is possible because of socioeconomic factors. There's that word again. It might be disproportionately minorities. I am telling you, they are not targeting minorities. That's just not what they do.
Definitely not in Hayward because it's only 9%.
Yeah.
We're going to strongly disagree on that one, big dog.
Yeah.
Mark, man, I have enjoyed our conversation, brother. I really have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I would just say, man, let's recap. Just on the abortion thing. You kept pointing toward Margaret Sanger. We gave you quotes from Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
You then pivoted over to Planned Parenthood. Soon he gave you
still haven't read
quote from Planned Parenthood. Not a problem with it at all. All I'm saying is, man, is each time we give you receipts, you keep moving the goalposts. I don't think that's that may not be your intention. All I'm saying is that's what we kind of seeing, big dog. And if we were doing the same thing, please call us out too on that. But all I'm saying is there's a whole bunch of receipts that show that Planned Parenthood is purposely going after minorities, black people.
I'll take a look at them. I mean, I might be wrong at
Racist.
my first impression. I'm not saying I have the final word on this. I haven't studied it extensively.
If you believe in police brutality, you better believe in this.
That's what I'm saying,
simple.
man.
I'll take a look. That's all I can say.
That's all I'm saying. Hey, I'm gonna send you the books, the excerpts from this actual what do you call it? Pamphlet that they were sending around to all the local leaders and doctors and ministers, and I think you should read through it because they say exactly who they're targeting, man. That like they're not hiding it. They're not hiding it.
Okay.
Well, guys, man, thank you for your time. Thank you, Suzu, Mo, OG. Good to meet you, big dog. Mark, man,
Yeah,
thanks for the
definitely.
conversation,
Good to
brother.
see you again, Liddell.
Thank you.
Bye, Liddell.
All right, man. God bless you guys. Peace.
It was a pleasure.
Well, I mean, hey, man. I told you I would be respectful. I hope you enjoyed your time on here, and you see that I'm very much capable of being diplomatic. Discord is a different beast, bro. You can be unfiltered and unhinged on there, and I can say whatever I want.
Yeah,
So it's a different feel.
it
But
is.
I do think you should please research all these
I will.
things that we're saying to you
Yeah, I'll take
from
a
an
look.
unbiased view as well. Like I don't ever research to try to poke holes in a sitting narrative. I research to find the truth.
Hmm.
So just read it. Just read it, take it in, and we can revisit this conversation. And hopefully, you'll have a different tune on Kanye, and you'll have a different tune on Planned Parenthood, and you'll actually join the blacks that care about the black community in our fight to wake up other minds, because it won't happen placating and doing the same garbage we've been doing. It won't.
Yeah, I mean, we need a change. I think we can agree on that.
And that change is embracing yay. Sorry, people need to
Embracing
get
it.
over it.
Okay. You can
Hey, well,
embrace.
I'm gonna say something about Ye, because he actually pissed me off the other day when he, you know what? Just check my show out tomorrow. Soon, come on the show tomorrow. Just check me out because
got
I'm gonna
you.
be talking about Ye, and what he did to Trump this past week. So
I saw
Oh,
that. I saw that.
which part? Wait, I want to talk about it now. What's going on? I'm Puerto Rican. We got to talk now. You can't drop the details and then walk out.
boom, bye. No.
That don't work for me.
Cliffhanger. Tune into the Lion's Den to
Dang.
hear this. The Radical
Tune into the
Republican.
Lions Den, the Radical Republican show tomorrow night.
What
Wednesday,
time? What
live
time? I'll
on
be there.
Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on Rumble. 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, I'll be there.
8
I
p.m.
will be
Eastern. Yeah. I got some major backdrop on it. It was a setup, so I'll just leave it right there until tomorrow night.
It was a setup.
Hey, I might
Hey,
steal the clip from your
we
show and play it on our show. We got to do
you
that.
can do that.
Okay.
Hey, let's rock it. Do it.
Okay.
Sudi and I have a little bit of insight. We've been talking
We do.
to Ye's publicist directly.
Yeah, she's pretty cool, man.
She's pretty cool.
Oh,
We'll compare. We'll
We
see
may
Well,
what
Mo, I want
she's-
you on the show. You can come on the show tomorrow too. I'll have a link
Oh.
up there, you guys. Matter of fact, I'll send
Yeah.
you all a link if you want to come on the show tomorrow.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
Sudi and I will talk. I'll get everything from her.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
sweet.
All right, cool.
Thanks
to
for
meet
coming
you.
on, 6-1. I will see
Hey,
you
Mark,
on
thanks for the
Discord.
conversation, man. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
That's
Mark.
cool.
You were a
And
good
at least-
sport.
Yeah. At least you're a man to say, hey, you're gonna research, you're gonna check it out.
Yeah.
So when you research and check it out, don't be, shy or scared to come back and say, hey, I was wrong. So
Yeah, I
Facts,
admit
man.
when I was wrong.
yeah, coolness.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going
Right.
to Discord. I might hop on Instagram for a bit, but I probably won't because this was a long time for me to be sitting here under these lights. It was fun. Thanks, Mark, for coming on. Please tune in on Friday. No, Thursday instead of Friday because I'm going to be away this weekend. So we're going to be doing a Thursday show at 9 p.m. And tomorrow I will be on the Radical Republicans, the Lion's Den. We will be talking about Ye and Trump and comparing notes because I'm interested to see what you know. I can't wait for tomorrow
Same.
now. It's still morning here.
So juicy.
This is
I'm
going
ready
to take
for it.
forever.
Indeed.
I love you too,
Mark.
Auntie. My aunt is here. I love that my family is watching this because
Oh,
everyone
Aunt-
knows my story.
Is that
My
Aunt
aunt is
Shirley
here.
in the
Yeah,
chat?
my Aunt
Says that I
Shirley
love
right
you.
there.
What
My
up, Aunt
family,
Shirley?
some of my family members were distraught when I decided to support Trump. It was a major thing in my family.
Uh-oh.
But I'm so glad that you're here watching, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the conversation. And even her in the older generation, she is saying this is a very much needed conversation because we have to talk about it. We have to stop acting like Kanye is just spitting out BS, man. The Jews
Yeah.
control the black voice in politics and in the industry. And I'm sorry that hurts their. The best thing for you to do to fix that would be. Can y'all hear me?
It just went
It
quiet
went-
a bit.
A little bit, yeah. We can still hear you, but
The best thing for people to do is just embrace what he's saying, look into it, and stop fighting it. Sorry, because right now
and
it's extremely racist. I'm sorry, it just does.
I will say this too, like social media definitely paints it a different way than the reality is. Because Suni, you and I had a great conversation with a
Yeah.
few Jewish people that were like real hardcore practicing Jews. And it was a great conversation. Like we spoke openly and honestly. And it was like, I mean, we both walked away from that. We're like, that was a really dope ass conversation.
Yeah, man.
And
Hey,
and
but-
none of us agreed on a lot of stuff.
No,
That was the other,
And
yeah.
Burrell, you're still on my radar for that janky ass picture you put up and that janky ass caption. You've been avoiding me. I'm gonna get on you. Matter of fact, I might go live on Instagram just for him to come on, bro. Quit dodging me. This man has been dodging me for 2 weeks. I don't appreciate that, Burrell. I thought, look, Burrell put up a post and said, Black influencers reach out, let's work, right? Inbox them. We've been talking, but you have been virtually silent on this video that I put up about you. And it's getting me to the point where I'm gonna go harder because you keep ignoring the fuck out of me.
Uh-oh. Don't ignore her.
Don't. Come get this smoke while it's hot. Because if you let it fester, it's gonna turn into a bonfire and we ain't gonna be able to put it out.
Uh-oh. Hey Mark, are you a wild man behind the scenes? Because you're so like controlled that you're so controlled and like you handled all this so well. And I'm just like, Mark has got to be a wild man. Like he's got to just let loose and just be like crazy.
Discord,
I have been known to get down on an EDM dance floor. But
okay.
Okay, Mark.
Get it, Mark. Get it, Mark.
I was drinking with a college friend, and he said, you know, when you became more drunk, I expected you to get more fun, but instead you became more you.
That's funny. You're a cool guy, though. I like you. Even though we disagree on a lot of stuff, I like you. You're cool.
Likewise. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, guys, for tuning in. We're going to hop off. I'll see you guys in Discord. Thanks for tuning
All
in
right.
again.
All right, peace.
Bye.
Sent you the link, Sunni. All right, later, everyone.